Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. Welcome to another episode of Narad News. And today we'll be talking about, well, the whole world, and I'm guessing all your feeds as well, are packed with the situation in Iran, right? US did this, Israel did this, Iran did this back, um, Strait of Hormuz, trade being stalled, maybe oil prices will skyrocket. Amid all this, there is actually something very fundamentally ground shifting happening in India. India has actually very recently, so this is from February 27, 28 timeframe, India has inaugurated its first semiconductor fab shop, right? Now, this is not an indigenous endeavor completely at this point. The US giant on memory fabrication units called Micron, they have actually set up a fab shop and it's going to start, you know, doing its thing, which is producing memory modules, right? So let's go over this. I'm going to quickly bring up. There's a few things I'll go over because when we talk about fabrication shops, it's not a cookie cutter concept. There's many different types of fab shops, but the bottom line is no matter what type of fab shop you're setting, it needs to be one very clean. It's usually very expensive to set up because it requires the latest um, the latest technology to sort of, etch the wafer in such a way that there is a whole integrated circuit board on a very small piece of silicon, essentially. And of course, those of you who follow this or who are sort of enthusiasts in this space, or even maybe obviously if you guys work here, then you know that the Dutch company, uh, ASAML, or anyway, it's a Dutch company. They literally have a monopoly over the machines that produce the machines that in turn produce these etched silicon wafers, right? It's called laser lithography technology, and basically it needs to be so hyper precise that only that one company has a has the technology for it, and they have it patented and whatnot. So, yep. So let's go into this piece here. PM to inaugurate India's first semiconductor fab plant worth over rupees 20,000 crore in Sanand. So if I should have actually thought about this. Let me do this. You know, I'll quickly give you guys some converted figures. Convert. So I'm just gonna quickly show you guys. Oh, okay, yeah. What So this is about 2 billion USD. And for those of you watching in Canada, I'll just play the same trick again. I think roughly around 65. So by the way, guys, if you haven't used LLMs for all these crazy number crunching, it's actually pretty good. Like when you're going from the Indian unit of numbers to like international, and then you're confused about how many zeros and whatnot, it actually does a pretty good job. I've verified it several times. So this gives us about 3.08 billion Canadian dollars. So this is Basically, there was a public bidding process, there was an e-auction. The developer has been granted a 4-year moratorium period to begin construction of a 3 to 5 star hotel. And this is where this is where I think they got the they got the blurb wrong, which is very interesting. But let's go down. Sorry, guys. So PM Modi will inaugurate an ATMP, assembly, testing, marking, and packaging plant of Micron technology at Sanand on February 28th. So that's it's been about a week since this happened. New facility of Micron, one of the world's largest semiconductor companies, will enable and test manufacturing for both DRAM and NAND. So DRAM is basically what you guys think of as RAM. This is one form of RAM, dynamic random access memory. This is what is used all across laptops in some form or the other. And the architecture matters, but anyways, I won't go into that picture yet. And NAND is basically what you see in your flash drives. So it's a USB flash type of memory. NAND is basically that technological breakthrough that allows your USB sticks to keep getting smaller and essentially be able to still store more. So you just go to any, like, you can go to a Shoppers or wherever, London Drugs or Best Buy. You'll see like a 1 terabyte USB flash drive literally like be the size of this finger, right? Like they've become so small, and NAND technology is what enables that. Cutting a very, very long story short. So let me go over. So I actually found this article from a news outlet called Taipei Times. And this is one of the flagship outlets out of Taiwan. And they have also acknowledged this. And this came out on March 2nd. So I guess they got the memo a couple of days later. But India opens first semiconductor assembly facility. Known for its software, India has expanded into hardware with its semiconductor industry growing from 38 billion in 2023. I guess they meant 45 billion in 2026 and then maybe 50 billion by 2030. I'm not sure what this was. I think there's a little bit of a small error in how they have worded this. But anyway, it's growing and we can see that. The reason I thought using this source or using Taipei Times as a source is useful is because we know that Taiwan or China, they dominate this industry, right? TSMC. So having said that, when India is getting into this space, of course, will it be quote unquote 3 nanometer on day one? Definitely not. But a large part of all the processing that happens, apart from the latest cutting edge laptops or enterprise grade, servers and everything, the types of chips that are sitting in your cars, in your fridges, in your other non-smartphone electronic devices, they can fairly easily run on a much larger transistor size. 20 nanometer, 30 nanometer, that's totally fine. They don't need to, you don't need so many transistors packed in all the time. Realistically, you could still use a larger transistor based chip even in laptops, and you could run, you could run any Linux OS on it and it won't have a problem. You don't necessarily need your 3 nanometer, 5 nanometer. None of that is absolutely needed. It's good that we have it, but all I'm saying is it's a lot of technology overkill in that space, and software always suffers with that. I mean, how much of Microsoft Office do you think you actually use versus the amount of features that are actually packed into it? Like, I'm in an industry where we have to use PowerPoint a lot. And I'm pretty sure even we don't use 100%. We may be using more than what a college student uses, but definitely not exhausting the limits of the software in any way. So India on Saturday inaugurated its first semiconductor assembly and test facility, a milestone in the government's push to reduce dependence on foreign chip makers and stake a claim in a sector dominated by China. So, needless to say, right, that in today's environment, countries need to be as self-sufficient as possible. Now, okay, let's say there is one fab plant, it can produce chips. What about the machines that produce those chips? Okay, you have to bring them from Netherlands, right? So again, is it complete end-to-end control? No, but it's a step in that direction, right? Does India have enough silicon? Does India have enough silicon mines to be able to dig all that out and then convert it into the base plate that then the chip is etched on, essentially? No, probably not. But again, for complete vertical integration, you have to start somewhere, and India has taken a step towards that. I'll just quickly go over this one. When young Indians look back in the future, they will see this decade as the turning point in our tech future. This is PM Modi's statement. He has his own YouTube channel, by the way, so you guys can go watch this address. Dawn of a new era, okay. Home state of Gujarat, I don't think the home state bit matters. The fact of the matter is, for those of you who are non-Indians watching this, India is divided into states, like the administrative units are called states, and the most business-friendly state is actually Gujarat. Second most friendly is probably Tamil Nadu, and then third is Maharashtra, where the city of Mumbai sits. So it doesn't come as a surprise that Gujarat is the state getting this. Although semiconductor fab shops, they need a lot of water and they need to be maintained at a cooler temperature. I don't know how, I mean, yeah, fine, there are ways to, air condition and everything, but Gujarat is probably one of the worst options when it comes to the ambient, the natural ambience needed for such a shop to exist, right? For something like data centers, how do you even build them in India where the temperature can go up to 45, 48, 50 Celsius in some places in summer, right? So, of course, a similar case could be made for California. So, I'm not saying those issues have not been sorted. But if you have a cold ambient temperature, then you just simply have to use lesser electricity. Again, that's my noob analysis. I'm happy to be educated. Do leave some in the comments if you have anything to correct. Let's quickly go down. India's semiconductor market has expanded from 38 billion in 2023 to an estimated 45 billion to 50 billion in 2024 to last year, with government targets up to 110 billion by 2030. So in a span of, 8 years or 7 years, it's gonna go from 38 to 110. That's a 250% increase. So that's definitely an ambitious target. I think it can be achieved if the political seriousness stays, and because I think the business ecosystem will respond, right? But as long as the political hurdles are minimized to getting more and more fab shops in place, I think it can easily be achieved. I know the number itself is crazy, but I also think that if the political momentum is maintained, it can be achieved. New Delhi is developing 10 chip projects, more than 18 billion, including 2 cutting-edge 3 nanometer design facilities in Noida and Bengaluru. So maybe this fab shop is not going to do the 3 nanometer design, but then there will be other fab shops. Noida is basically next to New Delhi, and Bengaluru is in another state in the southern part of the country, for those who may not know. So we will be having 3 nanometer fab shops in India as well. I mean, 18 billion. So you see the cost increase, right? So this first fab shop is about 2 billion. Now, just to get down to 3 nanometer and be able to even produce those chips, it's literally, I mean, I'll just do a back of the envelope, right? 9 billion each. So it's 4.5 times. So it's not cheap by any yardstick. But again, you can do this in the one fastest growing economy in the world, two already at 4 trillion, which is not a small number. Again, per capita, we're not going to go there just because we are talking about at a country level at this point. India, which is known for software, is now building its identity in hardware. I think we have covered all of these. The Prime Minister linked the launch to deepening technological cooperation with Washington, citing India's entry into the US-led Pax Silica alliance focused on AI, critical minerals, and supply chain security, areas where China holds considerable sway. So over the past few months, we have seen two big shifts vis-a-vis India's relationships across the world. We are seeing a great reset with Canada, and we are seeing almost, I mean, I guess you could call it on some level a reset even with the US, where there was a freezing of relationships last year for whatever reasons. We are literally seeing a 180 turn at this point. I'll quickly go over Micron's own press release on this. So this is directly from their website. Micron celebrates opening of India's first semiconductor assembly and test facility. Here we'll go over some technicalities of the fab shop itself. So guys, stay tuned for that. State-of-the-art site in Sanand, Gujarat expands Micron's global footprint and advances India's semiconductor ecosystem. I guess we saw that. 500,000 square feet of clean room space, making it one of the world's largest single floor assembly and test clean rooms. Essentially, the clean room, this verbiage is used to denote the space where you can actually make the magic happen, right? Like that's where the wafers are brought in and the laser lithography technology is utilized to etch the circuit board onto that wafer, right? And it needs to be squeaky clean. It's not like you take your Dyson and it's and then you take a Swiffer and you mop the whole thing and it's, you know, it's clean enough. It needs to be, there are industrial standards of cleanliness that have to be maintained to ensure quality, right? And we'll be going into that over here. $2.75 billion by Micron and its government partners advancing semiconductor manufacturing capabilities in India. So we kind of touched upon the monetary value of this. So here is where this is what denotes the level of quality this facility can produce. So those who may already know ISO 9001, this is a quality assurance standard. You can just quickly dump this in Google and it'll get, yeah, there we go. So this is ISO 9001, internationally recognized standard for quality management systems, million organized globally to ensure products and services consistently meet customer and regulatory environments. This is one of the highest standards. It's used very widely. And if you're ISO 9001 certified, then, well, that's the gold standard of quality. So no one can question this, right? And this is again Micron itself making that statement that they have the certification. To mark the grand opening, Micron presented its first shipment of made in India memory modules to Dell Technologies for its laptops made in India for India. This is what a circular ecosystem essentially means. You're not only shipping it to India, but you're shipping it for Indians, right? So this will be scaled up to hundreds of millions in 2027, starting at tens of millions. Again, this is kind of in line with the statements that have come out that, okay, by 2030, we'll be seeing a 250% increase. So nothing too new there. Micron built and is operating the assembly and test facility in accordance with the company's sustainability goals, rigorous health and safety standards, and with local and global environmental commitments. So for everyone who's thinking, oh my God, pollution and it's not sustainable. Well, that's not the case. This facility has been designed to meet or exceed leadership in environment and energy and environmental design gold standards. So there are four types of LEED standards, or four categories. LEED certified, then there is a bronze and the gold and a platinum. Gold is basically the second best, and platinum is obviously the best of the best. And then I think there's a rating scale from up to 100, and I think 80 plus is platinum, and then I think 60 to 80 is gold. So this facility is sitting somewhere in that range, right? If you guys don't believe me, here we go. Oh God. Okay, here we go. So just a quick 40 to 49 is LEED certified, pure and simple. Silver is 50 to 59, gold is 60 to 70, and then platinum is 80 plus. I don't know what happens if you're between 70 to 80. Maybe I'll double check this one. I think gold is, I think 60 to 79 is gold, and then 80 plus is platinum. Okay, that makes more sense. So now, if anyone has a doubt on what Micron is and how credible is this company, these are the three big memory manufacturers in the world. SK Hynix, South Korea, Samsung Electronics, again South Korea, and then Micron Technology, US. So this is not a fluff company. And that's the only reason I kind of have this put up. If any of you have recently tried to buy some memory sticks, or some sort of, I think flash drives are still pretty reasonably priced, but especially if you're trying to buy RAM, go look up the prices, right? And if you're trying to buy DDR5, solid state, a solid state hard drive for your laptop or for a desktop, go look at those prices, and that's a separate topic. But again, all of that is being made by SK Hynix, Samsung, and Micron, right? And the reason these prices are so high is because there's literally all these AI companies have locked in capacity for the next few years so that they can keep pouring money into their data centers. Anyway, I think that's going to be I think Kioxia has already exited the retail end of the market. They are only supplying to enterprise now. So anyway, it's I think this bubble will have its reasonable end sometime soon, because there's always a bubble and then the real value of the technology is realized. Something similar to the .com bubble, when internet was a new toy and everyone wanted a website, and then a bunch of these websites just went out of business or merged with the other big players, and then the real value of the internet emerged, which then led to social media, and then consequently the third wave of AI that has shown up, right? Anyway, I don't want to go too far off topic, but I just want to tie this back. You know what? I'll actually just put myself on the screen. I just want to tie this back to... why not? Okay. I just want to tie this back to Canada in some sense, right? It's good to be aware of what's happening in the world. It's good to have an opinion. It's good to comment on it. But if you guys were listening, I mentioned that, data centers, fab shops, all of these facilities, they essentially require a lot of water. And the reason for that is to keep stuff cool. Too much heat melts metal. It's basic, right? Canada is a cold country. So this whole country can potentially be used as it's basically a hotbed sitting to be utilized. I know it sounds contradictory, hotbed. Okay, a really cold bed sitting to be utilized. Now, by itself, Canada does not have enough people to be able to, sustain the industry by just supplying within Canada. So ultimately, it will have to be exported, it will have to be shipped out. But at least some small facilities which can take care of the domestic demand for chips can actually be built here. And it's a good it's a good pilot market, right? 41 odd million people. It's a good pilot market, right? Just supply it to all the Canadian arms of all these OEMs, your Dells, HPs, Lenovo's. They all have facilities in Canada. Just supply those chips to them first so that they can, supply it to Canadians. If it starts working out, you can then get into economies of scale and then ultimately start exporting. It's a very long roadmap. It's not going to happen in 1 year, 2 years. But if there's anyone in the government that's listening to this, please do consider this. You have a 41 million population. You have that 41 million population largely concentrated in 6 dots around the country. This makes it a perfect place to test new cutting edge technologies and pilot them. Since Canada, I don't know what level of I have my research into what level of if proficiencies we have in having fab shops and producing chips and processors. I'm not entirely sure. I'm digging into that. I'll be doing a longer talk on it. But I think if we change our lens to thinking about Canada as a king of pilot products or king of piloting new technology, then we have a very credible business case to start getting into this space as well. Prime Minister Carney is visiting 3 countries, as we have covered. He is already, I think his India visit is obviously done. I think he's in Australia now. I did see a statement, so maybe the Australia one is concluded as well. And now he's going to be in Japan, and then in a couple of days he'll be back in Canada. So, and he has mentioned his pitches around, middle powers should stand together, blah, blah, blah. All good. But where does Canada sit in the whole so-called chain of middle powers that needs to be formed? And maybe that's a question that the administration, the government can start pondering once this visit concludes. Anyways, guys, that's all for today. Do like, share, and subscribe. Do spread our word. Do comment on anything you found good, not so good. Always happy to take feedback. Always happy to see a good discussion in the comment section. Hope you have a great rest of the day and great rest of the week. See you guys soon in another episode of Nada News.